Now we're at the Airwell Skink Habitat Restoration School Day in North Canterbury with Cosmo Kentish Barnes. The educational day is held annually on Pāmu farmland that's been fenced off and transformed into a nature reserve for a number of native species, including the endangered Canterbury grass skink. Today, about 60 local schoolchildren are busy planting habitat for the skink and learning about pest control and biodiversity. Hamish Fairbairn from Conservation Volunteers New Zealand is the event organiser.
We have been partnering with Pāmu and working here for the last 5 years. And when we first started, it was pretty much a barren landscape, and now we've got all these plants that have been growing, which is really cool, and we can see some of the native birds and native bugs that are coming back.
And we are on a corner of the farm where some rare grass skinks were found in 2015.
Yeah, that's right. It was just by coincidence, I think, and Pāmu thought, right, well, we've got to do something about this. So we thought, right, well, let's turn it into a restoration project.
There are quite a few people here today.
Yeah, we've got a variety of entities for sure. Yeah, so obviously we have Pāmu, we have Synlait that are helping out, Environment Canterbury, we've got Charlie from Nova Silva, we've got all sorts of parents, and we've got 2 schools, we've got Swananoa and we have West Ayrton.
Do you liaise with the schools? How does it work?
Yes, yep, we do the working in with the teachers and things like that, sorting out all the logistics prior to the day. So we're sort of building on that relationship, which is really exciting.
Yes, and how important is it to get schools involved in projects like this?
Oh, it's so essential, eh? Sort of working with the teachers, working with the students, talking to children about the importance of biodiversity, conservation, stewardship, or kaitiakitanga, looking after our environment. It's crucial.
So what's happening now, Hamish? It looks like the students have split into different learning groups.
So we've got 3 rotations. So they're doing some planting over in the far corner there. And then here they are with Anna from Environment Canterbury and also Melanie and Brad from Plant and Food. And we are also, I don't know where he's gone to, but we're very fortunate to be also working with Ruud Kleidepaster, the bug man.
Brendan Stent is business manager for Pāmu's Canterbury dairy farming operation. How exciting to have all these school children on the farm.
It's a great opportunity to have them all out. It's great just to see the education that goes into our local community and schools to bring them and get diversity into the product for what the kids can do and learn.
How did this all start?
Well, there's a little story around that one. Well, one day we happened to be on this particular block and we ended up finding a little skink running around, and then we got some experts in to come and have a look, and we thought, well, shit, there's a few skinks floating around and we'll have to get the process going. So what we done was we created this fenced off area. It was 2.5 hectares in here, and we thought, well, it would be an ideal to balance the biodiversity from the hills to the sea, and we brought stones in and started mounting and giving the skinks a protective area what they could do, and then we involved the schools and the community and the wider group to come do plantings, and the opportunity's grown into a community involved asset. Yeah.
And for our listeners who aren't familiar with this area, how would you describe the scenery around us?
Oh, the scenery is basically we're surrounded by dairy, which is good. The dairy industry adds to the New Zealand economy, so we can't take that away. But we're looking after our land, which is the big thing, and that's why we put these Pacific areas in to allow that corridor of diversity.
And tell me about the farm. How many cows have you got here?
On this particular farm, we have 425 hectares. We're milking 950 cows, and one of our biggest goals is to make sure we have a sustainable business, but looking after the environment at the same time, and hence these things coming into play for us.
And Pāmu is a state-owned enterprise, and I think it's the largest pastoral farmer in Aotearoa, New Zealand.
I think it may be in the southern hemisphere, I have heard, with the land mass, and we have, sheep, deer, beef, dairy. There's a lot of, sheep milking as well that's put into that. So it's very diverse.
Now also here with us is Palmu's Terry Anderson.
I do a lot of the community engagement work, and so the programs of, for example, we've got genetics, methane reduction, sustainability, dairy beef integration, and so what I try and do is help get out and make sure that the people around our farms know what is going on with Pamu and to demystify a little bit what we do and just build those relationships with the communities. We have 110 farms around the Motu, and as Brendan said, they're very diverse, and our farms are part of the communities, and families go to the local schools and so on. So we're really embedded in the community, and it's just an opportunity to kind of open the doors. And it's also really great that we've got more and more parents coming along and getting involved, because people drive past here and want to know what it is. It's not just a little scrubby kind of native planting area. It's actually really important for the endangered skinks.
And that's why there are reptile and insect experts here at the site.
Yeah, we've got some lizard specialists coming in to tell the kids a little bit more about their licence to handle the skinks as well, which is something that needs to happen. We've also got Rud, obviously, who's the most entertaining bug man you've ever met.
Yep. And the kids, I guess, know who he is.
He brings a touch of celeb, doesn't he?
He does. It's good to have that.
Yeah, it's cool. And last year, after this event, the kids were just absolutely, the teachers wrote to us that they were back at school going, looking under rocks and actually getting in and finding out what they've got around their own environment, because it's, the little stuff, you don't normally notice it, right? And it really does change the way that they think about just looking at plants even in what's in the habitat, and like getting actually engaged in what's there. It's really cool.
Brad Howlett has just finished talking to a group of students. He's a pollination entomologist at Plant and Food Research and has been working at this restoration site for the past 3 years.
I lead a team called Beneficial Biodiversity. So we are looking at farm systems, how we can try and make them more resilient through promoting diversity of insects that we know are going to be providing functions on farms. So that's protecting them, understanding their life cycles, so that farmers will have strategies to put into place to look after those insects, so that they're going to provide resources for them.
And here, some grass skinks have been found. What is their role environmentally?
Okay, so the skink project is more about protecting the diversity here. So with the Canterbury Plains, it's very intensive agriculture. We've got less than 0.5% of our native plant remnant habitat left. So the skinks themselves haven't got a lot of undisturbed sites to flourish on. So this is a way to protect that biodiversity, build that biodiversity back into this system. So it's good for Canterbury as a whole to try and bring back that diversity, but it also has benefits to farmers in terms of, beyond the skinks, the insects as well that interact with the farm in positive ways.
What other insects have you found in this area?
So there are some boulder copper butterflies that are very specific to certain plants that grow here. So in a habitat like this provides, if we put the right plants in place, the Muhlenbeckias, for example, we can provide that sort of habitat that can bring them in. So they're around, but they're rare because of the disturbance of their habitat and a lack of host plants for them.
So what sort of advice do you give Pamu in terms of this site here?
One of the things about this site is the focus on the diversity, protecting animals and plants that used to be here, building them up. Our science is also finding those extra benefits. So what does this mean to their farming system in terms of controlling pests? So what we're trying to do is add to those elements of biodiversity beyond just protecting the animals, what they're actually doing on farm, how are they servicing the farm.
And beyond this protected site, we can see the standard dairy farm paddocks, which are all grass, are very different to this environment here, which I guess highlights the importance of protecting some land on farms to allow insects to thrive when perhaps they wouldn't in a normal paddock.
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing is that, like you'll notice beyond the skink habitat, there's some other native plants being established. They can act as corridors to bring biodiversity into these sites, so they're not just isolated in this one area.
Yes. Now, Brad, you've got two of your colleagues here as well.
Yeah, so Sam and Mel are part of the project as well. Sam is an expert on native bees, so our native bees nest in sites like this. They're actually ground nesters, they don't live in hives. So these sorts of undisturbed habitats are really important for native bees. Mel is interested in how insects attack pests. So we've got a number of native insects, the hoverflies, that have larvae that attack aphids and small pest caterpillars like diamondback moth. So the idea is that if we can get more natural enemies, which are insects that eat other insects, or they'll lay eggs and their larvae will eat those insects, by having sort of resident populations, then we can get on top of those pest insects before they get out of control.
Hi, would we be allowed to be interviewed?
Of course you can be interviewed. Now, tell me your names.
I'm Kaylee.
I'm Lucy, and we're planting trees and looking for skinks and native
Learning
bugs.
about all of that.
Trying to restore some native animals and plants.
How important is that?
Very important.
Pretty important.
Because it'll also help the plants and everything in the ecosystem strive better. It also brings in some pollinators to help the farmers get more plants and that for that business and farm.
And what sort of creatures pollinate?
The bumblebees, honeybees, normal bees.
Some butterflies pollinate. There's also beetles and flies also.
There's a bit more that pollinate as well, but those are the main ones that we remember.
Bridie, you are a school teacher?
Yes,
Where do you teach?
at Whananoa Te Koromiko. So we have our Seeds of Learning team here today. So it's a program that we run at school. It's for horticulture, restoration and animal husbandry. So we've been coming for, I think, 5 years now. So a lot of the children that are here this year have come for the last 3 or 4 years.
And the students look really engaged.
They really enjoy it. I mean, the ones over there planting at the moment are really competitive about how many plants they can get into the ground. They're like, I've done 15. How many have you done? So yeah, they're really, really keen. And like last year it was rainy and cold and the kids came for the whole day and they went away feeling like they had accomplished something. So I think, and given back, I think it's really important.
Yes. And Sarah, you've got some students here today?
I've got 27 very keen students that have come back. They're our year 7 and 8 students, so our senior students. And I'm a teacher at Waiaraki West Eaton School, which is just about 8 k's up the road from here.
Yes. And what are they learning about today?
Well, part of our purpose is to come down and learn about our local environment, but the major part of our one is it's part of our Waiaraki challenge, and they have to give back to their own community, so they have to do service within their community. So this is an opportunity to continue the planting we started, and for our children, because this is the area they live in, this is giving back to their own immediate community.
Come on in, everyone. Okay, we're ready for our third and final rotation.
So I work for the Waimakariri District Council in their Green Space Department.
This is Dr. Bex Doolery.
I'm an ecologist, so I look at the interactions of all biological things, really.
Yes.
And so I've done a fair bit of work in this area, looking at invertebrates and lizards and plants and birds.
And so are you talking to the school students today?
Yeah, so we've put out some tins, which is a way that we can monitor if lizards are present. They like to kind of sunbathe on top of them or hide underneath them.
Yes.
And we've set out some tracking tunnels, so some tunnels with a little bit of bait in the middle and some ink on a card, and so the lizards run in, eat the lovely bit of pear and then run out and leave their footprints for us to have a look at. So yeah, that's a really exciting bit for the kids. And we have actually seen a juvenile skink today, and so that was wonderful for the students to see that.
And it's morning tea time right now, and all the kids look like they're starving.
Absolutely. I'm concerned for my safety.
Thank you very much, Bex. Now, I am with Anna Veltman, and Anna, what's your role? What are you doing here today?
I work for our regional council, Environment Canterbury, and I work as a land management advisor, and I'm largely working in North Canterbury, but have had quite a big focus in the Waimakariri district for quite a few years. So my role is working with farmers on farm to encourage uptake of good management practice, and something like this, which is all about biodiversity on farm, includes the sort of topic areas that we cover.
And this morning you were quite engaged with the school students.
Yes, I'm working together with the District Council ecologists who actually have a higher level expertise in biodiversity, but together we were just indicating to the students why this little bit of habitat is so important, because if you go another place on the farm, it's unlikely you'll find the skinks, but in this little corner here that's been set aside with quite a diverse grass sward still, but also lots of indigenous plants that have been introduced, and bringing in those rock beds provides that little bit of environment that the skinks need to give them protection from predation, and also additional food sources, which is also what they need.
Yes.
So they want to be able to skittle safely to get that food.
There won't be a second round. What? Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Now, Jo, you are a parent of one of the students here.
Yes, I am. I've got Charlotte in Year 7 at West Egerton. Yeah.
What does your daughter get out of doing this?
I think the things that they get taught at school and obviously at home is that we have to look after everything around us, and this is putting it into practice. So it's not just talking about it. And my other kids enjoy it too, so when we do plant at our place, they know actually what they're doing as well.
Yes. Do you find that you learn things too on these days?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yes, I've just learnt that flies pollinate stuff more than bees, and now that's kind of grossed me out. But yeah, no, definitely.
I am in the area where the school children are doing the planting, and who am I with here?
Jaden?
Now, Jaden, you have just planted a beautiful little native tree.
Yeah.
Was it tough work digging the hole?
Not really. It was more because the oxygen's got all through the soil. It was more easier and more loose to dig through.
Yes, yes. You've put a woolen weed mat down around the plant?
Just so I guess it can keep the roots nice and moist.
What sort of plant is this?
I'm pretty sure it's a manuka or something. It's quite spiky, and all the little bugs will come to get the food off it, and then the skinks would come and eat all the little bugs that come. So kind of like a food chain.
How many trees are you hoping to plant today?
Most likely 10, hopefully.
So I'm Charlie, I run Nova Silver, and we get brought on board by Pāmu, and we've done all the cultivation, most of the weed control, all the previous plantings, and we more or less just come along after the community plantings and put the rest of the plants in, tidy it up and make sure they're fit to survive the summer.
Yes. What sort of plants are going into the ground?
Pretty much we select the plants based on their ability to handle the really tough conditions out here, Like it gets pretty dry, and being ex-riverbed, it's really stony and really hard, so we've got Kānuka and Mānuka for the road edge to kind of like create a bit of a barrier, and then inside we've got Matagoti, native brooms, we've got Coprosma papincus, and
and this land really is being transformed.
Yeah, you think about, a few years ago it was just a kind of like a lost piece of land in the paperwork of Landcorps, and then to discover that it was a site that housed a native species, and then to see it now, there's been a lot of work put in, and it's going to pay off massively. It's cool to see some of the trees that were planted about 3-4 years ago coming through, and we're definitely running out of places to plant trees, so it's going fantastically.
I am heading over towards a shelter belt on the north side of this restoration area, and this is where Rude, the bug man, is talking to a group of students.
And what have you got here?
I don't know.
That is the tiny caterpillar of the one that eats the wood in the tunnels.
So
Remember the dead wood?
Yeah.
Dead wood. That's a dead wood one.
Isn't it the same one that you got away? Can we go down there? No, it's not.
Yeah, you can. It's called bardia.
So when they grow, how would we tell?
I'm a nature nerd. I do full frontal nerdity. And as such, I work with kids, with teachers, and I work with all sorts of people in this industry. And it's very nice to actually do stuff like this, take them out into the field.
It's not just about skinks, even though they are hugely special and rare. It's about the bigger picture too.
It is the bigger picture. Those skinks, you know, we know they were here or still are here. You see them every now and then. They're rare as anything.
Yep.
But as I've been saying to the kids, there's probably other things here that we have no idea what they are. New species, I bet you they're here.
Mm-hmm. Now, you were under the shelter belt just before with a group of school children. What sort of things were they finding?
Well, I decided if this was a really neat native forest that was put into a really not so neat but workable pine forest, which is now being put into a dairy farm, there's been lots of changes to this particular whenua over the time. And the last thing that is remaining of the old pine trees is right here as a shelter belt. So what happens when a tree falls in the forest? Who looks after the decaying? Who looks after the recycling? Who looks after the carbon that comes back out of the sky and back into the soil? And this is the sort of stuff that I'm talking about. That is that whole earth thing. So we looked at all the wood that is lying there and find out who are the ones that do the mahi. This is a way of learning how the environment sits and how it operates. And the kids love it because they get a bit scared, but then again they become really good at identifying things and feeling that they can actually handle that. Yep.
And being hands-on is always a good thing, isn't it?
It's
being out there, just doing it.
It's practical. That is actually the moment you have literally an engagement with the topic. You hold it in your hand. And this is why I train teachers to do that. Because if you have nature literate teachers, they will create cohort after cohort of nature literate kids. And they are the ones that are going to look after this planet.
So what have you kids found here?
Hoo-hoo grubs that we're trying to get out of a log.
Those are the ones that actually break down all the stuff from wood and turn it into compost. Actually, it's actually a carbon recycler, really.
Look, it's eating it.
That was Ruud Kleinpaster talking to Cosmo Kentish Barnes.